This is your Chargers linebacker, Dan Henley, and you're tuning in with Chargers Unleashed.
Welcome to another edition of Chargers Unleashed. Jake Hefner and Dan Wolkenstein here with you from the LAFB Network. If this is your first time tuning in to the show, make sure to hit that like, subscribe button on YouTube. You can also follow us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Spotify, and Apple Podcasts. Dan Wolkenstein reporting on location today, as Dan Wolkenstein has had himself a hell of a weekend, going to have his fantasy football auction draft. Him and his buddies, they actually go to a special spot. They had a very interesting way of choosing their draft order.
Let's not talk about that.
Needless to say, it is Sunday morning. It is 9 o'clock. Welcome to all of you, wherever you are. Dan Wolkenstein, I'm sure, is recovering a little bit off of whatever he was drinking last night. Nice transition, Dan. What is it this morning?
Honestly, I have had 0 liquids in my body this morning. Woke up.
Not smart.
Look, I'm dedicated. But I'm here. I'm alive. Draft looked pretty good, actually. Group had fun. But all eyes, I think, this morning are on the Chargers' Week 3
That's right.
loss, quote unquote. Like, we care about wins and losses. We care about what actually happened in the game, and there were some really, really good, and there was some not so good, and then there was some great. But Jake, first and foremost, arms up. How are you?
I should just put 2 fingers
Oh,
to you right now.
he brought the sleeves.
I should
folks.
just put 2 fingers to you right now. I appreciate first of all, I appreciate all of the recurring jokes, because anytime that there is a hood that is attached to any garment that I am wearing, Dan always has to ask the question, does it have sleeves or is it short sleeves?
But clearly
today,
the weather there is frigid.
Today, Dan, you get sleeves. Today you get long sleeves. So
Okay.
yeah, to everybody who placed their bets on what that was going to be, there you go. Congratulations to all of those who have won. Yeah, Dan, we got a lot to talk about as it relates to the Chargers' third preseason game against the Rams. Good things, bad things, some terrible things, some things that definitely need adjustment. And as it relates to overall camp battles, it's a crucial time because there's one preseason game left before we hit the regular season. And as we always do in relation to this show, everybody in the chat, you guys navigate things, you guys drive it. So we're obviously going to dissect the game, but any questions or comments that you guys have, get them into the chat. We'll do our best here over the next hour or so to answer any and all of your questions. Dan Wolkenstein, third preseason game. Justin Herbert starts his first preseason game ever in his NFL career. Get a first glimpse of him, get a first glimpse of this new offensive line with Joe Alt at left tackle, with Trey Pipkins at right tackle, with Jamari Sawyer at right guard, with Mekhi Becton being out. And it was only one series. There was some good, there was some bad. It was nice to actually see Ladd McConkey and Keenan Allen on that side of the field when they were running their routes together. That looked good. That looked creative. Imagine what we're going to see from that duo here in the next few weeks. Scary situation with Quentin Johnston and that hit that really should have been a flag.
Yeah.
That was a scary hit, scary situation. Glad that he's all right. All indications from everything that we have heard up until this point was that he had suffered a concussion. It doesn't sound like there is any other serious ailments to that. But
Hopefully.
But there were some aspects, I think, that Herbert was knocking off the rust when it came to certain points of that offense. Dan, if you want my opinion, and this will carry throughout the rest of the show as it relates to the offensive line in general, I thought when it came to run blocking, the offensive line was atrocious. If you want my humble opinion on that,
I know last told.
Amarian Hampton on that first drive had a great, fantastic run, even though that was on a third down where the drive stalled in the red zone for them, but was carrying guys, even though he didn't get the first down. That was one of the most impressive runs to me throughout the entirety of the game. KLS had a great pass from Justin Herbert in that game. But overall, as we dissect this, we'll get through the starters. We'll talk about the backups, offense, defense. Dan, a couple of your immediate takeaways. What'd you think?
I mean, I think the show has to be started with the rookie receivers. I mean, I think you heard some of the narratives throughout the last couple weeks about Tre Harris with drops and maybe he's not ready for the big lights, or KLS now having drops, and I think we could put that shit to bed. I mean, you go out and see what they did. It was like what combined was it 8 catches for like $152? I don't have it in front of me. Both of them with pretty gnarly toe drag swags. Uh, but Tre Harris specifically have a day. Well, we'll get to him later, but I would say kind of the stars of that game. I mean, I think the biggest takeaways are the receivers that Justin has. Justin looked phenomenal after that first throw in the dirt to Quentin. You saw that dart he threw to KLS. You saw, honestly, the dart he threw to Quentin didn't end up working out, but I mean, that was a seed. So Justin looked good, but I mean, the run defense didn't look great. And you could say, yes, Derwin, Khalil weren't there. So maybe a lot of this was kind of vanilla, which we'll get back to the diabolical that is Jesse Minter later with the simulated pressure to get that interception. But yeah, and then probably the other biggest theme is, I mean, I think, I don't want to say biggest, but Trey Lance, I think, is bona fide QB2, which good for him. I mean, he looked completely transformed. And then lastly would probably be the cornerbacks, which we'll get to. But don't sleep on UDFA's and late round picks by this Chargers team in the secondary, because Clean Scale and Minter's got them in their bag.
Let's start with the quarterback, too. Strangely enough, Dan, that's where I kind of wanted to start. For me, the quarterback 2 competition was wrapped up last week against the Saints game. Taylor Heineke, in the 2 drives that he played against the Saints, he was 1 for 5. He sailed 2 passes on Tyler Conklin in that game. He had 1 drop from KLS, 1 that he eventually connected on in the second drive. He was having some of the same issues in this game, hanging his wide receivers out to dry. Dan, I was not impressed by Taylor Heineke whatsoever. I think Trey Lance has come in and took in a firm grip on that quarterback 2 battle. And when the time comes when the Chargers only keep 2 quarterbacks on this roster, it's going to be Trey Lance. I thought he has had a much better command of this offense overall. His passing accuracy has been a lot better. His decision making and his awareness in the pocket when choose to pull it down and run for first downs. We saw that the last 2 weeks. He's done a fantastic job. And Trey to Trey was really a big term that was used throughout this game. Whether it was 3rd and Trey for Tre Harris, 3rd and Trey for Trey Lance, however you wanted to slice it. They had a nice connection. Obviously, it was great seeing Tre Harris getting out there and finally getting some production. We've been waiting for that for the last couple of weeks. But yeah, Trey Lance, quarterback 2, no question. Next subject.
Yeah. And, it was sad. I was kind of prisoner of the moment there for a second when, you see Taylor Heineke throw like a couple nice passes and you're a little excited, like, oh, okay, we're starting to see something a little better. Some runs. You're like, okay. And then fast forward 10 minutes, you're like, well, never mind. That was short lived. Yeah, I think that's a wrap, to be honest. And it's, I mean, first and foremost, I think like good for Trey. This weekend party thing I got going on, there's a bunch of folks who are Niners fans, and let's just say they have completely given up on Trey Lance. And them watching last night was a little enjoyable from my side, anyways. Not just because Trey Lance was balling, but because they're like, wait, hold on, who's this guy? Look, I think it's been a while since we've seen a backup quarterback for this Chargers team that's able to deliver balls to receivers that enable them to make plays so we can actually get eyes on them. You're seeing some of these plays from these receivers this year that literally, because of some of the quarterback play last year, we did not see receivers catching balls. And it was hard to have this receiver competition when no one is able to get the ball to him. Whereas this year, I mean, you're seeing highlight plays all over the place. I mean, hell, Tucker Fisk is making highlight plays. I mean, you got guys, receivers going crazy. Um, so I think that's been the exciting part, is you're actually able to see some of these guys flourish and make a name for themselves. But yeah, I think Trey Lance is definitely QB2. And no, I don't think there's any thought of trading him, getting assets. I think right now, like, first and foremost, want a quarterback who can help your team. And it looks like they have it.
Then I'm going to circle back to the beginning of the game. First drive for the defense. Oof. Stetson Bennett, your third string quarterback for the Los Angeles Rams. That running game for the Los Angeles Rams against the starting unit, even though it was minus a Derwin James and a Khalil Mack, that didn't look too good. I thought the Rams owned the line of scrimmage throughout the duration of this game. Benjamin St. Juste did not have a good heading in the third preseason game. He was targeted multiple times on that first drive. Alohi Gilman looked like he was playing angry for a majority of it until he ended up getting injured. Thankfully, he's okay. He tried to actually end up coming back into the game later. But yeah, that was not what you'd want to see from the majority of your starters out there on defense. As we'll go through this, we'll have some players to highlight, like RJ Mickens and Nico Reed, obviously, that once again impressed. But there were some things that I was looking at with Tooley that I wish, he's got to do a better job at setting the run, and these are the expectations, and he even knows this. He talked about this in his post-game press conference. When you transition from Joey Bosa, which whatever we want to say about Joey Bosa and injury history, he was still one of the best edge setters against the run in the league at his position. We all know what Tooley can do when rushing the passer. That's been well documented. But what he has to elevate on is setting the edge in the run game. And that's a big responsibility for him that he's going to have across from Khalil Mack. So there were a couple of runs that they ran his direction, and Tooley was just not in the right position to make a play on the ball. Outside of that, it looked lackadaisical. If you ask me, it looks like the Chargers defense were on skates in that first drive. So I'm not sure what it is. If anything is, to take away from it, it was the third preseason game, and you can be damn sure that Jesse Minter is going to have everybody else in the film room to watch that. I know that the defensive players are not happy about that effort whatsoever. So I'm sure that is going to be corrected. But yeah, Dan, that wasn't something that you'd want to see at that point of the game.
No, and I would kind of go to the back to, and full disclosure, right? We talked with starters a little bit. Defense, I think, left a lot to be desired. And I think I tweeted as much. And I have not had a chance to go back and watch a second time, so bear with me. But fast forward to the end of the game, and again, full honesty, UFC night was last night, and it was maybe a minute left in the game. And of course, folks wanted to watch the UFC game. So I didn't watch the very end, the last sequence. All I'm able to do is just watch the ticker on my phone. I didn't see this, but I saw the call was reversed afterwards. Jake, what happened here?
Here's what I'll say about this call. If you want to debate whether or not this was a fumble by Tremont Morris Brash or not, in my opinion, it's actually irrelevant because of the offensive drives the previous two times. You could have actually
for the Chargers offensive drives.
Yes,
yeah.
You could have shut this game down offensively from not only after the Luke Grimm return, from the interception that your defensive lineman got you, and then you go 3 and out and you give the ball back to the Rams. Offensively, to close out that game, the Chargers did not look good. It didn't look good. It didn't work for them. And they were in position to close that game out. One of the reasons they couldn't close the game out is because they couldn't run the damn ball. Kamani Vidal was your leading rusher on 10 attempts for 16 yards. For your running backs, that was your leading rusher. Trey Lance was obviously your leading rusher overall, but for your running back stable, your best running back got 16 yards on 10 carries. Your running game looked terrible. And that's when you need it in situations like this, at that point of the game when you need to close a game out. So I get it. It can be debated. I looked at it to say, like, I personally thought it was. The officials didn't see it that way, but at the end of the day, you had multiple opportunities to close that game out when you had the ball, and it should have been done.
Yes, Jake, I feel terrible as a co-host. We have gone, 15 minutes? We haven't even asked the folks in the chat, what are we drinking? Any questions, comments, thoughts?
Well, I tried to
I'm
set that
clearly
up with
dry.
you
I know,
because
I'm dry.
you're
I
not
fumbled
drinking
that
anything,
one.
which is amazing. I would have thought
Yes.
after the weekend that you've had and
Look,
the specific the specific
challenge. Yeah,
challenge that you had to determine your draft order.
I fell asleep beforehand.
Jeez.
There were shoes everywhere. It was nuts. Yeah, and then of course, I mean, rookie moves, right? I forgot my liquid IV at the house. No water bottles left in the house. It's a freaking ghost town here right now. It looks like something from Walking Dead.
Rookie
But
move, Wolkenstein.
I know. And look, I fumbled it. I got hands like RJ Mickens apparently in this game.
Oh, yeah, why?
Which I'm playing because let's be real. RJ Mickens looked fantastic, and he has looked fantastic all preseason. Should he have had an interception or two? Probably. But he just looks better and better and better every single time he comes on the field. Nico Reed back after his injury. Talked about last week. Nico Reed back. And you look at the dichotomy of RJ Mickens and Nico Reed and their narratives and their performance on the field compared to, we'll talk about it, a Jazeer Taylor, who's fighting for a spot there. Dean Leonard fighting for a spot there. Triquez Bridges fighting for a spot there. There's stock up and stock down for sure. I think we all know whose stock up is up and down for those four that I mentioned. But RJ Mickens is making it real hard to not be on the team. And I don't know if Nico Reed will make the team, but I'm hopeful that he makes a team over Jazeer Taylor. And again, no shot at Jazeer Taylor, but right now, I don't think it's close. I think Nico Reed has performed better than Jazeer Taylor. And I don't think that's a hot take. And it's not personal, but that was a bad game for Jazeer Taylor. I mean, he's out there playing 2 minutes left. He's staring at balls when they're catching them in fourth down. Like, personal fouls for face masks. Not great. Like, that
Not
was
great, Bob.
That, we went from Taylor Heineke, not great Bob, to Jazeer Taylor, not great Bob.
I forgot that was my new nickname for Taylor Heineke was Taylor Not Great Bob Heineke.
Yes. Jay, real quick question for you comes in from James Wagner. Thule or Morris Brash?
The question here should be Caleb Murphy or Trayvon Morris Brash. And
Yeah, I mean, I think
in that case, it's Caleb Murphy. Now, look, I'm a big Trayvon Morris Brash fan.
Yep.
And I was interested to see who was going to really step up. I thought going into year 2 for Trayvon Morris Brash, even from, again, you go back to watch his college tape from a year ago and what got him to the dance. He is a big individual that can get after the passer. He did that a lot in college. And I thought what he's done thus far in the first 3 weeks of preseason has actually been very good. The only problem is that Caleb Murphy's done it better. He's done it better. Trayvon Morris Brash, obviously from the fumble, not fumble situation that we were just talking about. In the other 2 preseason games, he's come like this close to securing at least 2 more sacks. The issue is Caleb Murphy has made those plays, closed them out, made turnovers on special teams, and that's been the biggest difference. So I think Trayvon Morris Brash is definitely a candidate for the practice squad again, just given the emergence of Caleb Murphy. And it's going to make things even more difficult because right now, I think that Caleb Murphy has made a solid case to be on the 53-man roster, and that's going to cause a trickle-down effect because if you keep 5 edge players between Thule,
here we go,
Khalil, Bud Dupree, Kyle Kennard, and now Caleb Murphy, you're going to have to sacrifice at a different position on defense. Are you going to sacrifice it at safety? Are you going to sacrifice it at corner? You're going to
or
sacrifice it at
or a tight
defensive
end.
line? You're going to sacrifice? Yeah, I mean, you could sacrifice it on the tight end side. But this is part of the trickle down effect. It's great to see players like Caleb Murphy, RJ Mickens, Nico Reed performing the way that they have over these first 3 weeks. Rocket Sanders starting to come up as well. It's great to see that. But now we're at the time where it's going to be an issue. Who the hell do you cut? I don't think that there's any way that, given Caleb Murphy's performances over these first 3 weeks, that you could try to put him back on the practice squad. I just don't. I think that the Chargers are going to end up keeping 5 edge players at this point.
I will say I don't know if I'm ready to go that far, but I do think that this game, I think, shifted some 53-man roster predictions. I'll tell you that. And but again, like that's what you want to see, right? Like a lot of people, you don't like to see like this bad play from people, but it gives opportunities for others. And you'd rather have it happen now than happen, week 1 in Brazil, right? Um, and I think, Jake, let's just real for a second. I think what got Chargers fans most excited
Oh, yeah.
was Tre Harris and KLS. And not just because of them specifically, but I think also the tertiary of like what that means for Justin and what Justin Herbert hasn't had. Hey, if you haven't done a voicemail yet, should we do a voicemail? We should do a voicemail.
You can guess who it is.
You could. You're not gonna get this one right. But you can call on the hotline anytime. 323-902-7586. Leave a voicemail. We have one from our neighbors up north, Jake. Let's
Okay.
hear what they have to say.
Hi, my name is Leo from Quebec. Tre Harris the third is a fucking beast. What do you think about it? Thanks, guy. I'm from Quebec, Bella.
Tre Harris, have yourself a day.
It's a great. Trey. It's a great voicemail. Short, sweet, to the point, and then mention the fact that he's from Quebec twice. Loved it. Thank you so much for calling in. I appreciate it. We've all been waiting for the Tre Harris game this preseason. We know what we've seen him in practice. We've seen the quick rapport between him and Justin Herbert in practice. And then you go back, the Hall of Fame game, he saw one target come his way, sailed over his head. Last week, he didn't see much action either. Then finally, it became the Trey to Trey show.
They made it a point.
Third and Trey. When it was and there was, I can't remember which drive it was, Dan. It may have been the first drive that Trey Lance came in, but I know we talk about, like the big bomb catches from both KLS and Tre Harris that they caught along the sidelines, which were fantastic. But there was one pass that was just converting the sticks.
On third down,
Trey had to make a ridiculous adjustment as he was falling down to catch the ball. That was awesome. Been waiting for it, Dan. It was great to see. And especially now with what you're expecting from this wide receiver group, again, with Justin Herbert at quarterback. Let's think about it. Again, let's run through the players. Keenan Allen, Ladd McConkey, Quentin Johnson, Darius Davis, now Tre Harris and KeAndre Lambert-Smith. You're going to need these weapons. And it was just great from the standpoint of these were the things that both of these guys were great in college for when it came to contested catches or making those difficult over-the-shoulder catches that they made in college. What can you do against man coverage? Somebody else besides Ladd needs to beat someone. This was the moment to step up. And I thought collectively as a group they did, and it was great to see this.
Yeah, I mean, you look at the box score for these guys. I mean, KeAndre Lambert-Smith, 2 receptions, 66 yards, 33-yard average. Tre Harris, 6 receptions on 8 targets for 85 yards. I think Tre Harris had 4 or 5 first downs converted on third down alone. Then you're seeing, you saw Ladd do Ladd things. The first drive, you're like, all right, cool, he's good. Rondé Gadsden getting a catch. You feel for him because you wish he would have gotten that one in the end zone. But the larger story, right? The macro of that is we all saw what happened last year. Like it was literally only Lad that could be depended on. And like we're not talking about Keenan Allen right now. And that was even in your list that you brought up just now. Keenan, Lad, Trey, KLS, Quentin, Darius. That's 6, right? Like that's a good group. And I think what Chargers fans are probably getting a little nervous about was, wait, what's going on with Tre Harris? Like, is he not what we thought, or is he, is he not ready yet? With Mike Williams no longer being there, is he gonna be able to step up and take that spot? I mean, KeAndre Lambert-Smith is making it look easy, and you heard a lot of the comps by the coaching staff to Brandon Lloyd. I mean, I see it, and that catch he made was absolutely absurd. And sometimes, like, that's why these guys get paid, right? Like, yes, I think sometimes, a lot of pressure gets on the quarterback, rightfully so, because they get paid billions basically. But these wide receivers are kind of paid to make the spectacular look normal. And for the most part, I think that's why people have been harping on some Quentin performances because things have hit him in the hands. And yes, could some of them have been spectacular catches? Sure, but you're seeing rookies do this seemingly with ease in the preseason. Now, we'll see what happens during regular season, but Tre Harris seemingly like an RJ Mickens, like the more he gets out there. And I do think that there was a focus from this coaching staff and the quarterbacks to get him involved today, probably more so than he saw in games past. But the fact that Justin now has weapons that you can count on, that he can go to that can either separate or win one-on-one. I mean, we talked about the receivers. That's not talking about the improved run game, which we'll talk about in Amari Hampton here in a second. It's not talking about the tight ends like Tyler Conklin or Ronnie Gaston, who can now win. Like Justin has, we've talked about his weapons in previous episodes. He's got 6, 7, 8, 9 weapons that he can now use. Versus last year, it was JK and it was Lad, and everything else was just fingers crossed. The Tre Harris and KLS performance last night, I think, was a big needle mover and the confidence builder for this Chargers team. And even Justin Herbert talked about it post game with KLS, where KeAndre Lambert-Smith said, like, oh, there's more to come, right? Like, that's what you want to hear. Your quarterback building confidence in his receivers. Real quick, on the receiver thing, I feel like, can we just stop with the Quentin stuff for a sec? Like, take the narratives out, take what you think about, like, all the macro, like, on that individual play, in this individual game, Quentin really didn't have a chance to get either of those. The first throw, Justin Herbert threw in the dirt, wasn't going to catch that. Second one, some people might say, sure, it should have been more loft on the ball and could be more on the outside shoulder, whatever. That ball was a seed directly into Quentin Johnston's window, got tipped at the last second. It was tipped. Go back and watch. I don't care what people say. Like, it was tipped. But people are flaming Quentin for this. Like, I understand history. I understand things, but like, there's a right place and a time. And every time you get hurt, and you saw some of the stuff people were saying online, it was just stupid. All the hopes and prayers for him. Like, it sounds like it was a concussion, and they brought to the hospital out of abundance of caution. But like, can we just be a little bit more mature? And again, this is not everyone. Most people have been fine, but you see a lot of people just, I don't know, a little disappointed in that. Not gonna lie.
Yeah, I'll go back to some of the conversations we were talking about with the wide receivers and these interchangeable pieces that you kind of have now with the variations of both Lad and Keenan being able to play inside outside. You even heard Lad this past week talk about, I'm not sure where that narrative came from the standpoint that I was stereotyped as a slot receiver. What I like here, especially for Tre Harris, and even to pair that with Quentin Johnston, is that you have two guys here who can play the Z. And if you need Tre Harris to step in the X, He's obviously proven that he can do that. He did that at Ole Miss. He did it last night. And then you have KLS essentially as your burner, your deep downfield threat that you have now. So there are a lot of versatile, interchangeable pieces about this wide receiver group that arguably is my favorite aspect of it. Whereas historically, we've looked at this to say, like, okay, we always knew that Keenan Allen was on the slot historically. We knew that Mike Williams was your deep field guy. You even go back to the days of Vincent Jackson and Malcolm Floyd. You knew that those guys were deep. Way back in the day, it was Eric Parker that was owning a different position. But I don't think that you've had a wide receiver group like this specifically for this team that is that versatile, that you can have 3 or 4 guys be able to be interchangeable in which receiver spot that they can play, what they're comfortable in, and on top of it, make production on top of it. So that's the other aspect of this that I think is being lost in the shuffle, is that you have a number of guys here that could contribute in multiple ways.
And on Darius says, first thing, we hope Quentin recovers. Second thing, KLS is wide receiver 3. Fair. That's a fair argument. And it's certainly looking more and more bright for him as the preseason continues. But you've got Ladd, you've got Keenan. Then after that, who's wide receiver 3? Like, I think honestly, it's a legit toss-up between Trey, Quentin, and KLS. Now, if we're going off of history and draft selection status and all of that jazz, it's probably Quentin. But if we're just going off of what's on the tape, what we've seen so far, I think Justin would probably trust. I shouldn't say that. I don't know, but I wouldn't be surprised if he's starting to build more and more trust for certain types of throws and plays to go to KLS or to Trey. But again, that's what we're here for, right? Like, that's what preseason's all about. Forgotten Local says, where's Jalen Reagor? He's been injured, hasn't he?
Yep.
Not seeing him. You're seeing stuff out. And again, like a lot of this stuff in the preseason, like you guys are fighting for a roster spot, not necessarily on this Chargers team, but generally in the NFL. And some people are doing that, and some people aren't. One question I wanted to ask folks in the chat, also you, Jake, looking at the running back situation. I get that this front office drafted Vidal last year. And maybe I'm missing something, but I don't see how Kamani Vidal makes this team over Rocket Sanders right now, with or without Najee Harris being there. You've got Najee, you've got Omarion, obviously. I think Hassan Haskins is safe. Then after that, you've got Naheem Miller-Hines, Rocket Sanders, Kamani Vidal. He got a lot of run last night, and I couldn't honestly say he made the most of it. Now, was his line great in front of him? No. But what are you going to do with it? I don't know.
Again, the offensive line is the X factor here, because I don't think it's a fair assessment whether it's to Kamani Vidal, Rocket Sanders, any running back that was performing last night, because it was all kinds of terrible for the Chargers run game. It was atrocious. As we saw in the Hall of Fame game, that was Kamani Vidal's game. And to his credit, he performed well. Rocket Sanders didn't play that week because he was out with an injury. Second week against the New Orleans Saints, Rocket Sanders was your leading rusher. I thought in terms of his ability being a bigger running back, his burst, his lateral agility, his patience, his ability to double jump cut if necessary. I mean, he's had a touchdown the last 2 weeks. They gave him the goal line work when the Chargers finally got down there in the red zone, when they ultimately put that one in. But again, in general, you look at the totality of yesterday's running game. I mean, yeah, Kamani Vidal got hammered in the backfield last week, got hammered in the backfield this week. But the same thing happened to Rocket Sanders. Unfortunately, this game, I wish I could be talking about who's got a leg up for the running back 3. And in my personal opinion, I might be a little bit biased just in terms of what I'm seeing or bigger bodied running backs that I would lean towards Sanders. But honestly, yesterday was not a fair game to go off of that. Kamani Vidal has had one good preseason game where he's been the guy.
But I wouldn't even say he was the guy. Son Haskins was the guy that game.
Again, you could slice it however you want. Kamani Vidal was your leader in the stats for the running backs that week. I'm not saying that means that he's running away with it.
Yeah, I get you.
But if we're trying to really take these 4 preseason games and assess who's going to make the 53-man roster, unfortunately for the running backs, yesterday was a wash. There's nothing that you could take away from that. That's how bad collectively that the Chargers' run game was, because nobody could do anything with the ball. So we'll see what happens next week. If it's me, if I was building out this running back stable, I would be putting it together with Hampton, Najee, Haskins, and Rocket. That's how I would do it. But if we're being fair in terms of the evaluation process, and you give this time to see who's going to pick up and make a name for themselves and make the 53, I can't say much about yesterday because the entire
I'm not even saying it's fair. I'm just saying, given all the information folks have and that we have, again, we're not there at practice, behind the scenes. I think it's Rocket. Matthew Dahl, thank you. I appreciate it. Apologies for not getting to this earlier. $5 donation, Matthew. Thank you so much. Morning, guys. This backup O-line is bad. Joe and Jim need to do a better job developing O-line next year in the draft and free agency. And Matthew, I'm not necessarily sure if I'm going to say it's bad, but if you compare the development of both sides of the ball, you look at what they are doing with the linebackers, look what Dan Henley's been looking like these last couple of years. Go to the secondary, both safety and corner, what Steve Klingscale is doing. Interior defensive line, you look at those guys are developing and contrast that with what the offensive line is looking like. Yeah. If there's one that is progressing slower, I'll put it nicely, it's certainly the offensive line. And it's kind of surprising considering who the front office and coach is. Now, again, the Rashawn Slater stuff, like you can't control that. But yeah, I am kind of feeling a little left to be desired here for what this offensive line is doing. Consistently, anyways. But do you agree? I mean, yes, clearly you do.
Your top offensive lineman yesterday was Joe Alt. I don't think that should surprise anybody. Then you go further down the list. Branson Taylor, Carson Barnhart, Corey Stewart, even Jamari Sawyer were in the bottom in terms of overall performance. It was not, I mean, and it sucks for Jamari Sawyer, who had a solid first 2 weeks playing both at left tackle and right guard. Yeah. I thought he did great in the Hall of Fame game. I thought he did even better last week, shifting over to tackle in the game against the Saints. But yesterday, collectively for the offensive line, I thought it was not a good performance outside of the initial drive with Justin Herbert. And even still, there was some penetration that forced Justin Herbert out of the pocket. So what we have to remember is with this Rashawn Slater situation is that if it's going to happen, if something that terrible was going to take place, and obviously we never wish that it would, is that it would take place at this point of the season because now the Chargers have time to get through these adjustments. I don't think that there's going to be much of an adjustment needed as it relates to Joe Alt. I'm the least worried about him as opposed to any other offensive lineman on this roster. Tre Pipkins is obviously going to need to step up because we've seen him play at right tackle, and there has been plenty of inconsistencies, dare I say, bad play from him at right tackle. So there are big expectations from him. We still have not seen Mekhi Becton practice in the last 2 weeks.
Almost 3.
So fingers crossed for everybody that when it comes to week 1, he's going to be out there on the field. And we have talked ad nauseum what we feel about Zion Johnson and Bradley Bozeman. What a difference about 3 weeks can make. Am I right, Dan? There is
Well, yeah, like it's one of those like the
there's no blame to
more things
anybody.
change, the more things stay the same.
Yes, there is no blame to anybody that has concerns about this offensive line. Once again, it feels like the Chargers are going to go as far as their offensive line is going to carry them. And unfortunately, that's a challenge that they're going to have to overcome throughout the duration of the season.
I push back a little bit because again, like I'll go back to like I think for an offense to succeed, you have to have like one of two or three things. You either have to have a run game, you have to have great protection, or you have to have weapons who can separate quickly. Last year, they had none of the three. This year, I think they will have two. They will have a run game. I think that they have receivers who can separate quickly. So, yes, I don't think that this offensive line is going to protect Justin Herbert for 5, 6, 7, 8 seconds consistently. But we have guys like Keenan, like Ladd, like KeAndre Lambert-Smith, Tre Harris, who can win one-on-one. Add in the tight ends, add in the running game with Amari Hampton, who looked, again, very good. You can scheme around that. Like you can bring protection over to assist. So I think they are less dead in the water than they were last year. But I mean, sure, you'd love to see them protect better, tell you that much, and block better.
But on top of that, Dan, your depth is a huge concern from what you've seen for these first 2 weeks. Jamari Sawyer aside, because essentially he's going to be your primary swing tackle unless the Chargers end up bringing someone in. But I haven't seen anything from the 2s and the 3s as far as offensive linemen goes that have made me feel better about, in case of emergency, break glass, and one of these guys is going to be thrust into a situation like that. It definitely doesn't make me feel good.
But you know what makes us feel good? Special teams touchdowns we'll call it the Grim Reaper. That's what he was called by the Chargers team on social media. He made it 43 minutes and didn't talk about Luke Grimm with the punt return. And I got a little in my feelings. I was so excited. I was thinking, man, like he's shown out during preseason. He's shown out at camp. A lot of folks are talking highly of him. Like, is Darius Davis's spot secure? Do I think it's 95% secure? Probably. But when you got a guy who's returning kicks, who's impressing, it's not a bad thing. But that looked good, man. He's a little shifty. And to have that potentially on the practice squad, I don't know if he's going to get signed elsewhere. I wouldn't think so. That was fun. That was fun. And good for him, man. Good for him. You saw how pumped the entire Charge team is. Look at this picture. Look at Ladd going crazy in the background. You got Justin like, what just happened?
Is that the face, or is that looks like as casual as a Justin Herbert look that we have always seen from him in that photo?
Yeah, well, but that's excited Justin. You can't really tell much.
It was a great moment for Luke Grimm. If you've watched his college tape, you know what he's about and his game. And, in this circumstance, it was nice to see him contribute on special teams and have this type of a moment in game. But, with the unfortunate part for Luke Grimm is the wide receivers that he has ahead of him.
Yep.
So I think he would be a great practice squad stash for sure. Someone that if it came to it and you needed something that was an emergency as far as a kick returner goes, that's strictly Darius Davis's job, though, that there's nobody that's coming in to unseat that. But yeah, I wouldn't mind seeing Luke Grimm being put on the practice squad, and that Ryan Fitkin loved every bit of this.
Jake, you're hearing this. This is right up your alley. We've got folks asking about draft selections for 2026. First round pick. Chargers select what position?
I love the fact that you still have the access to the chimes, even you being on location.
Look.
Appropriately enough, I was actually going through my spreadsheet just a couple days ago, and thankfully I hadn't closed that window yet.
Of course you were. You were a sick individual.
I know I'm a sick individual, but haters gonna hate. Whatever. Get ready for college football season.
Okay,
baby,
Taylor.
we're gonna be right back in the wings. Which is,
Haters
by the
gonna
way,
hate. We're bringing up Taylor Swift.
which is the only thing that I actually know as far as one of her songs. That's
Good for
it.
you. Good for you.
I'll wear that as a badge of honor if that's the case.
Attaboy.
Honestly, for me, I was a little bit perplexed in this draft, and I know that the center position in general had a lot of influx as far as what that draft class was originally supposed to look like. And then by the time that we ended up getting to the draft itself, it looked completely different from the standpoint of guys who you thought that were coming into or were going to be big performers on the offensive line and were going to be going into the draft that year, and they didn't end up doing it. Guys like Parker Brailsford, guys like Jake Slaughter, like Bryce Foster, like Logan Jones. Those four guys were all considered as far as the center class last year. They all ended up either getting injured or going back to school. So if it's me, yeah, I'm looking at the interior of the offensive line again, Dan. With Zion Johnson not being renewed for a 5th year, he's going to have a big year in order for him to get that new contract. And, we'll see. You're going to go into this season again with Bradley Bozeman at center, Zion Johnson at left guard. And you saw what happened to those two players specifically when it came to the Houston Texans game.
Oof.
You have to be hoping for some improvement, something. And if that doesn't end up happening, I don't see how, with Jim Harbaugh's message, that you don't target the offensive line one way or the other, whether it's center, whether it's guard. Jake Slaughter out of Florida, I thought was one of the most consistent centers in college football last year. He should be the top center considered for the 2026 draft class.
I'm not over my skis. I've seen zero.
I wouldn't mind that a bit. But we'll see. We still have a long season to go, and I'm sure that there's going to be other draft positions that are going to arise as this season progresses.
Yeah, real quick. There's a fun thing in here. Is on the right side, third from the right, or second person on the sidelines. Glasses. Is that Najee?
I don't know. I can't tell if that's Najee or not. That might be Najee. Who knows?
Someone says Najee's out here looking like Wesley Snipes. Do you guys think Rashee Rice played in Brazil? I mean, of course, Rashee Rice gets some stupid thing where the hearing isn't for a month afterwards. But yeah, I think because, of course, he would.
There was a report that came down that was like shortly after the news broke, maybe the day after, that the NFL was really pushing for a suspension to take place in the beginning of the year. And then there were some talks, I guess, about like a possible settlement between when they wanted to actually implement it based on the court date and everything. So whether or not this is going to be, I've heard talks about like a 6-game suspension and where they're going to float it. Maybe it's going to be after week 4, or is it going to start at the beginning of the season? As of now, it's going to, until that court situation gets itself finalized, which in my opinion, look, I'm not going to get angry about this. I had my own feelings when I saw this news break, but something that happened in March of 2024, and we're just now getting to this, even though I know there was some rulings that came down in July. This is what we're still dealing with. Go back and look at some other similar traffic violations that have taken place with NFL players in the past. I don't recall them taking this long. So,
and honestly,
however you want to slice it, it is just appropriate that your season kickoff against one of your biggest divisional opponents, the Philadelphia Eagles and the Baltimore Ravens. And as of right now, Rashee Rice gets to see all of that.
And he was playing last year, aside from the injury.
Yeah. Now, flip side, I've seen the Kansas City fan base that have been asking for the suspension to actually take place at the beginning of the season, because they do not want to lose him in the middle for however many games it's going to come for. I don't think it's going to be as far as like a playoff push, but they don't want to lose him for that middle ground of the season, because I guess they're expecting a big suspension or a bigger than a 4-game suspension to come down for him. So depends on your perspective of it.
Here's a fun one. I got about 10 minutes left. So folks in chat, you can put your rapid fire questions. There's more voicemails here, Jake, but to be honest, I'm struggling over here. So I don't know if I can, how much longer I can go before I get some liquids in my body. So about maybe, I don't know, 10 minutes or so. But Jake, this is your forte here. If you were a cereal to be named for this wide receiver group, what would it be?
This is what we're talking about on a Sunday at 9:53 a.m.
Folks
I
in the
love
chat,
this.
help us out.
I love these type of questions. You know what? I'm gonna go off the wall on this one, Dan. Did you ever have Reese's Puffs cereal?
Yes.
It's fucking great. Fucking great, man.
That's how you feel
So,
about this?
hey, chocolate and peanut butter together, man. They make some really good cereal, and Reese's Puffs did it really well. So, you got some versatile flavors coming together to make some grand concoction. That's what I'll say today. What it's called.
Lucky Charms. That's
Lucky
a good
Charms
one.
is a good one. Lucky Charms
That's
is
a
a
good
good
one.
one.
Matthew coming in for assistance. Appreciate it. Jake, okay, so we went through. Let me get some names. Actually, no. I'll leave it to you guys in the chat. Who are some stock up candidates, but maybe under the radar a little bit? We all know now, right? Like clearly, I saw something in the chat. Like RJ Mickens dropped 2 interceptions, yet still had a great game. Like, which is impressive. I think his stock's clearly up. Like Tre Harris stock up, obviously KLS stock up. Who are some names either up or down that are not being talked about after that third preseason game?
You asking the chat or you asking me?
Both.
I mean, again, the third preseason game wasn't the best to evaluate that as far as the guys that we haven't talked about. It's pretty much the low hanging fruit performers that stood out.
Your boy Nico Reed looked good.
I mean, Nico coming back after missing the Saints game, he looked good. You know, say what you will about the final touchdown that ended up giving the Rams the win. It should have never have come to that in the first place, given the plays that took place before that on fourth down and them making a conversion. But Nico Reed, just in general, if we're talking about what he brings to the game, his instincts and his ability to read and react, and most of all, come up to make the tackle, has been something that he has done so well during his time at Oregon. We've seen it, especially through those preseason practices leading up to the Hall of Fame game, tackling, getting interceptions, and then ultimately, I don't know how you could have ask for a better preseason debut than what he had against the Detroit Lions. He almost hit for the cycle because he was tackling on special teams, made tackles on defense, had the great interception, almost had a sack in the backfield in that game. He almost hit for the cycle. And again, now he didn't get that same type of opportunity in yesterday's game, but I thought that in general, he looked really, really solid. And along with RJ Mickens, those two are going to be, it's going to be tough to keep them off the roster, honestly. And then, I mean, we haven't talked about it because he didn't play yesterday, but I mean, my God, Eric Rodgers, you hope that he gets a chance to play in the final preseason game, just from his standpoint. Yes.
Yeah.
This is also the genius, again, of Coach Clinkscale. See what you can do with guys that are undrafted, guys that are 6th-round picks. RJ Mickens, again, I know that everybody's talked about like his almost interceptions that he's had over the last few weeks, but he is a versatile chess piece in terms of where you play him. We talk about that a lot when it relates to one safety in particular, and that's Derwin James. But over the first 3 preseason games, if you go back and you look at where RJ Mickens has played, he's played at free safety, he's played in the box, he's played in the slot, he's even played on the defensive line. And when you have safeties like that Jesse Minter loves to interchange between 3 safeties, in particular between Derwin James, Alohi Gilman, and Elijah Molden, you add Tony Jefferson and a versatile piece like RJ Mickens into that mix, you got something. I'm telling you. Final 53-man roster, and I feel like we say this every year, but
yeah,
you've got a number of guys in terms of late round draft picks and undrafted free agents.
Maybe some heartbreak.
definitely worked their asses off to get to this point.
Yeah, like prepare for heartbreak for folks who are excited and following some of these guys who you start to like. Some other names in the chat people are talking about. We got the Ankh himself, Tony Jefferson, of course, comes back with a 4th down stop in the goal line. They'll take that. Marlowe Wax, Galen Murphy we talked about. Jamari Caldwell, I think, is another good name people are talking about. Junior Colson stock down. Yeah, I would agree. We can go stock down here for a second.
Aside from the play that he had yesterday when the Rams were knocking on the door right before Tony Jefferson made the pass breakup, Junior Golston made a nice play on that. Outside of that, I get it. And it's unfortunate. Is he going to be on the roster? Yes, he's going to round up that linebacker group. But in terms of where we thought that he was going to be at this point,
I'm legitimately shocked.
Yeah, you would hope that it would be a lot higher than this. There was expectations even from Dan and I that coming into this season that he was going to be the starter next to Dan Henley. And at this point, it doesn't seem like that's going to be the case. It seems like it's going to be Denzel Perryman alongside him again. But for the short learning curve, if there was a learning curve at all for Junior Colson, because he already knows this defense and this terminology from Jesse Minter being in Michigan. And I know that he has been coming back after his ailments that he had to fight last year. But you would have, I still, Dan, I'm like waiting for him to play more aggressive, play more free, and show those same type of instincts that he had at Michigan. And unfortunately, we just haven't seen it yet.
No, we haven't. Folks are, well, first off, yes, rough night last night. Yes, I need to stay hydrated. I did not do that. I'll take the L on that. Alex, apparently we have some technical difficulties. Our volume is way different. I'm remote. I'm in a house full of dudes that drink far too much.
Actually, I'll take the feedback. Is it me? I know I've done some things to try to tweak my microphone, so if I'm the one that sounds bad in audio, I apologize. And I'll make sure that that's fixed by the next show.
Let's see. People talking about Troy Dye. That's a good one. Stock up for Troy Dye. Jazir Taylor playing in the 4th quarter, but Michi's gone. Look, if you were to tell me that what you saw from last year, what the coaching staff was talking about him, to fast forward game 3 of the preseason, he's out there literally on the second to last play of the game and just getting beat constantly. I mean, he's giving up touchdowns, giving up 4th and longs, giving up personal fouls. Like, I never would have believed you, to be honest. He's fighting for his life. And right now, I don't know how you can possibly say with an honest voice that he is one of the top 10 DBs in this room. Like, you can maybe ask for 12. He still might be outside. Like, that's why you play the preseason.
Dan Ryan Ficken would say something different. I don't disagree with anything that you just said. I personally believe that Nico Reed, with his ability on special teams to come in and tackle and play that position a little bit better, I think he can have that position versatility too, to play both inside and outside, even though predominantly most of his production is on the outside. But if there's one thing that you could say to bring up as it relates to Ja'Sir Taylor, is that his special teams contributions, even before this coaching regime, has been the one positive as it relates to his name. Defensively, I will not disagree with anybody to say that there is a clear liability. No question. But Ryan Ficken holds a powerful voice in that locker room. So I'm not taking away anything that is taking place during these.
But is Ja'Sir Taylor is that good on special teams? Like, is he that much of an improvement?
Look, I'm
not saying he's wrong. I know.
I'm not disagreeing. And I'm not taking away anything from what you've seen or not seen from Ja'Sir Taylor over the past 3 weeks, because I haven't seen it. And I think that there have been other DBs that have outperformed him remarkably. But Ryan Fitkin's voice carries in that locker room.
But I also think Ryan Fitkin can coach up another guy.
I get you.
Brad says, Dan looks hungover.
Slightly. 60%. 60%.
I should have just paid Neiman. Phillips didn't get that much extra money. hard to disagree. It's hard to disagree. Jake, you went through a bunch. Anything else you want to go through here before we jump out of here?
No, I wish we had more to talk about, considering the fact that you had the starters play in this game. I was hoping for some bigger moments, specifically in the red zone. Unfortunately, too many of the Chargers' drives stalled. But, this was, if we're taking it as a whole, this was the worst performance, both offensively and defensively, of the 3 preseason games that the Chargers have played thus far. The first 2 weeks, I thought they looked very sharp. Most likely, you're not going to see the starters out there in the final preseason game against the San Francisco 49ers that are going to leave it up to guys that are trying to make the roster, obviously. But if there's one thing that we have learned is that come final 53 cut down, it's going to be tough to keep some of these names off this roster. And let's see who's going to ultimately separate by the time that we close out next week. So it's going to be a fun race to the finish, interesting race to the finish overall as we gear up for week 1.
Crazy.
Let's see what happens.
Never disappoints, this chat. There's already over 700 people shown here, and I apologize. I feel like I have the energy level for me has left a lot to be desired. I'm real struggling here. I could really use
next time hydrate, Wolkenstein.
Dude. I spent the first 40 minutes trying to figure out the freaking electronics in here to get a screen share and not wake up the entire house. But then fast forward, 9 dudes are all just sitting here watching soccer. I'm tired, Jake. I'm so tired.
Gotcha.
Folks in the chat, appreciate you guys and gals. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. Jake, what are you doing today on your last day of the weekend?
Relaxing and enjoying myself. Simple as that.
I'm going to go find a coffee, a liquid IV, and a bed.
There you go.
This was fun. Chargers lose, I know, but overall there are a lot of talking points that I think gave Chargers fans and coaches lots to be excited about. We'll get more and more into this as we continue on this week, as we get to week 4 preseason game, which is nuts. But until then, Jake, I'm going to go take a nap. Folks in the chat, enjoy your coffees, enjoy your Sundays, and we will talk to you next time on Chargers Unleashed.